Hello, and welcome to My Digital Story. I'm Jason Gillikin with Triangle Direct Media, and on this podcast, we talk about how websites evolve from a simple concept and a domain name to a thriving online business. We'll discuss the successes, the failures, and figure out what motivates these online entrepreneurs. Today, we're with Cherie and Mike Rusin from RubberStampChamp.com.
Still to this day, 17 years later, we love working together, we love the company, and we still are excited about it and want to do more.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And we started it knowing we had to survive. We had to make it work. It wasn't, I wonder if this will work.
When I asked Cherie and Mike to come on the pod, I thought it would be nice to hear about how a husband and wife team work together to build a business. And it was. You'll be able to hear it in their voices, the love and respect they have for each other, even after running a business for 17 years and being married for 15. But their story goes way beyond a husband and wife running a small business together. First of all, it's not exactly small. It was when it started, but definitely not anymore. Now they've made around 2 million stamps for 850,000 unique customers. They're a $3 million a year company, and they have big goals in mind for the future. Getting there wasn't exactly easy, but they had plans of going beyond just a mom and pop rubber stamp shop. They took risks. They were the first rubber stamp company to go online. When Amtrak needed 10,000 stamps in 2001, they bid on the project and got it, and then had to figure out how to fulfill that order. When search engines and pay-per-click became a thing, they put thousands of hours into it and figured that out too. I did say search engines there, not Google, because Rubber Stamp Champ was around before Google was the monster in the space, so they were doing pay-per-click mostly through Yahoo and AOL, and spending thousands of dollars a day because it worked. And when they realized they could profit more if they were ranked in free search engine rankings, Mike wrote 2,500 blog posts because the search engines like fresh, unique content and links. These two work hard to achieve their goals with the company, but even hard work doesn't mean there won't be setbacks. Google changing its algorithm all the time, the recession in 2008, working with a site that's slow but they can't simply move to a major e-commerce platform because they need to keep customer data from 850,000 customers' previous orders. So here's Mike and Cherie Rusin from RubberStampChamp.com, and we hope you enjoy their story.
We went online and looked for businesses for sale, and there were two. We had a budget of like...
And this was back in 1998,
yeah,
or 99.
99. I had 30 grand, so we figured we could put 30 grand down on something, and then so we could afford to buy a business that would be worth about $100,000. So we had two, there were two choices that came up when we started searching for that. One was this guy who was a rubber stamp maker, and then the other one was a boat for offshore fishing. I didn't know how to do offshore fishing that well, so we came down here and met with this guy named Skyman, and at that point in time, he owned the Rubber Stamp and Button Champ. That's what it was called. Back then, 99, the whole rubber stamp business, there was no online sales of rubber stamps. There really was no online. And so the stamp industry was, just thousands of little dealers all across the country that made rubber stamps for local markets. The Rubber Stamp and Button Champ was such a company. That's what we bought. And at that point in time, the biggest month that they'd ever produced was a 15 grand month. Their months were more like 10 grand.
Or 7.
Or 7 or 6. And then right after we bought the company, we found out that he had been paying the employees out of his pocket. So the company didn't really support the people that we had working there, so it wound up being Cherie and I owning this little rubber stamp company, and very little it was. She answered the phone and stuff, and I made the stamps, and it was just the two of us for a while. And at one point, I think our worst month was $7,000 was what we brought in sales in the month of February, right after we bought it. And then now we do like 7,000 before noon every day. So at one point in time, I didn't apply for it, and probably a lot of people say this, but I could have gotten somewhere with an Inc. 500 or fastest growing company in America. I think we were one of the fastest growing companies in America in like 2003 or 2. We grew 2,000%. And then early on, I was always trying to figure out how come on AOL, when you searched for stuff, some companies would come up in a blue listing on top. And I finally discovered that those were paid searches, and that was pay-per-click. And at that point in time, it was generated by a company called GoTo. So I set up a real early GoTo account. And then being, my background in advertising, business-to-business advertising, and doing normal mass audience advertising, to me, the way it worked on the internet seemed like, oh my God, this is unreal. You don't have to show your ad to anybody unless they tell you that they're looking for what you have. And that struck me as being pretty cool. And then as with my background in copywriting, I figured out that the more, words I had, the more keywords I could generate to say rubber stamps or self-inking rubber stamps, pre-inked rubber stamps, and so on, better off we'd be. And then I would sit there all day, every day, and load that GoTo account with, I think I eventually got up to about 8,000 different ways to search for rubber stamps. That's when we grew 2,000%. Then GoTo turned into Overture, and then Google came along. I already understood pay-per-click at that point, like way better than any of our competitors. Not only that, but one of our initial concepts was we figured out going into the business that because of the rubber stamp making the way it was in all these little mom and pop shops, the traditional run of the mill was you would get an ideal 50, let's say, from the manufacturer and customize it for your customer. You'd pay the manufacturer $2 and you'd charge your customer about $16. So there's a pretty big markup there. It was big enough actually for some stamp makers to make money selling to resellers. So when I found out that you can buy one of these for $2 and you can still make a lot of money selling it for $8, why don't we sell it for $8 to everybody? That's what we started doing online. So that is what helped me use pay-per-click as like a club, because we had way better prices than all of our competitors, and then I understood pay-per-click, and so they were, running from it and making it better for us like daily. And then in those times we grew, like I said, 2,000%. And then I wound up spending about, at the worst or the highest level, about $2,500 a day on AdWords. We wound up with, now I think we have,
850,000.
850,000 people that have ordered from us as a customer base. We've got 5,000 five-star reviews. I wrote about 1,700 posts and linked them all up, and it worked quite well up until the Penguin or whatever reorganization that Google did, where we went from, I think in 2013 we had 13,000 natural searches and then some 700 or 800 page ones, and then that got pretty much cut in half. And then we started working with TDM to get some of that back if possible, because that's what started making us rich. Because here, this $2,500 a day on AdWords was being dramatically reduced, and the number of orders was going up, and that was because we had garnered all these organic searches. So as smart business people, we've been trying ever since to get as many of them back as possible. We've worked with you guys to the extent that Rachel wrote, tons of content that's helping us. And then now Luke manages the pay-per-click program, which I don't do anymore because there got to be too much input for me to, actually effectively, work with and manage. And so they have it all set up with analytics. What I did was I worked the AdWords budget down to about $700 a day from $2,500. And that's just like bottom line profits that comes in every day, an extra $1,500. That adds up. That's a kind of where we're at right now. The site's fast. We have pay-per-click doing exactly what we want it to. We're bringing in 200 orders a day and very profitable. We've trimmed a few people down, but the company is, brings in somewhere between $180,000 and $220,000 a month every month since, I don't know, 2004.
So backing up to 1999 when you bought this business, so are you guys married at this time?
We met online in 1998. He was in Wisconsin, I was in California. And then he moved out here in August of 99, and then we ran the advertising agency for a few months, and then
What year do we get married, Sheree? 2001, right?
2002.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we bought the company and we were living together, and then we got married.
We started
right after.
Yeah, the company we bought, we started July 1st, 2000. We moved from the desert down to San Diego and started running the company July 1st, 2000.
Yeah, that's a strong relationship then. If you're going to be living together and running a company together, that's impressive.
Yes.
Thanks. And we've got compatible skills too. In other words, there's a lot to it, but I do have an intense marketing and marketing communications background, and Sheree has an intense sales and administrative background, and is real technical as well. So we're like 6 people, the two of us,
Yeah.
So how do you split up the day-to-day then?
Yeah.
Like how do you decide, okay, Mike handles this, Sheree handles this?
We just sort of know what we do best in a way. I mean, we're already, I don't know, we talk about everything too.
Yeah.
So it's whatever, incidental things, I'll give quotes to customer service on large orders and stuff. So will Sheree, but we interact with the shop, but we're not there. Right now, I think we have 14 people there. We've got a customer service manager that's been with us for 15 years, a production supervisor for 10, and a graphic supervisor for 5 or 6. So the management level there is really strong. And then this is, I think I was alluding to with the thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews. Sheree and I have done a good job, but we also did a good job with the shop because they make stamps really fast, really well, get them out to the right people in the right way. So we're doing well on all cylinders.
Back in 2009, we were at the location when we bought the business, and then we grew so much that we leased a 5,000 square foot building, which is a mile from our home. We've been there ever since, and we were kind of pushed out of our offices at one point. That's why we started working from home, and it works out really well. Like Mike said, we have management there, and I mean, most everyone there has been there for over 5 years. They just make a great product, and they love working for us because, it's a fun place to work. Making stamps and seeing all the different stamps that people across the country order, and
Mike keeps coming in and giving everybody raises.
Right. yeah.
I'm human resources too. I get to fire people for smoking crack in the men's room, and then
right.
on the other hand, I get to give people raises too. So.
Right.
That sounds like a story right there.
Definitely. Yeah. So that we definitely pay our employees well, and the working conditions are great. And that was. We've had some crazy employees.
A few, yeah.
Coming to work drunk, taking naps, like Mike said, smoking crack in the men's room.
Sure, you don't tell all of it.
So 2000, 2001, you guys are built up the website at that point, and then
we started in actually our first order was in late December 2001.
Okay.
And from Texas, and then. And Mike was funding $20 a day. We started, in advertising and went up from there.
So do you remember? You must remember that first order from Texas, and do you remember?
Plano, Texas. Yep.
Yeah. At this point, you're like, whoa, people are actually going to buy this stuff online.
Yeah. Oh well, and I mean,
it happened really
because
fast.
Everything was local before. And I mean, we were even, like Mike said, when we bought the company, there was 4 girls working there. And then, 6 months later, we had to let them all go because we just couldn't afford it. So Mike and I ran the company for a year, Sometime in 2002, we hired, our first employee, and then, or actually, we hired one of the employees back, Cassandra. She was with the old owner prior to us, and she's still working for us. So.
And then just being advertising freelancers, really, we wound up learning a lot of stuff about just things like, for example, when we had that Amtrak order and we needed 8 people over a weekend to put them together, we found out at that point how little labor can be in terms of a net sale or profit on a job. So we billed $50,000 on that project, and labor only cost us like $1,100. At that point in time, we figured, you know what, employees, that's a good thing. If we have work, we can easily afford the number of people that we'll have to have in order to get the work done.
Right. So we don't have to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can get more done faster, and this is an advantage we have too, because we make so many stamps. We can turn huge orders around really fast and everything.
Yeah, and we've kind of figured over time. This is just an estimate, but we've made well over 2 million stamps since we started.
Wow.
And it's a good name. It's a good name too, Jason, from an advertising standpoint, because so much is said. RubberStampChamp.com says that we make rubber stamps, we make them online, and we're like the best at it or really good, whatever
Right.
Champ tells you. That name, actually, Sheree and I were talking. I said, we're doing the podcast before he called, but we were saying, if you start to Google rubber stamp, before you get past the ST in stamp, it gives you our name as the first choice.
Oh, that's huge.
So that's always there, and it's really great because it's attention getting, and it's also very relevant. People that see that, they're like, okay, yeah, if I want rubber stamps, that's where I'll go then,
Yeah. Late 2000,
Yeah.
you get your first online order and you're doing some pay-per-click. At what point are you like, wow, okay, well, this is going to go way beyond what we can do in the store?
There was a point where I was, like I said, loading the GoTo account with keywords. And what I was trying to do was get the online sales to go over $700 a day, because at that point, the number of employees we had, the overhead we had and everything, if we could get over $700 a day in internet sales,
We could hire someone.
and we
Yeah.
wouldn't need local sales at all. For a while, there was a direct proportion between the number of keywords that I could put on GoTo and the number of sales that we were getting. It was almost like pouring gasoline on a fire. So then, like I said, we went from $700 a day to, some days that are $12,000, $15,000.
Right.
So when did competitors start to show up?
They were early competitor was Office Depot.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I used to jump up and down at the shop and say, I made Office Depot, stop doing pay-per-click,
Yeah.
And there was a time when I did, because it doesn't work for them, Then there was
a couple.
There were other, stamp companies.
There was like 3
the
main
stamp
ones.
maker.
Yeah.
I think the stamp maker may have been there like right before. Oh no, the stamp man. There's this.
Oh, yeah.
The stamp man was that's the earliest guy, and then there was us.
Rubberstamps.net, and then the stamp maker.
Yeah.
Those were our main ones. And over the years, when you were talking, when we started pay-per-click, and it just went through the roof. Our sales and
Right.
online,
Yeah.
and over the next few years, and up till this point, to this day, the vendors tell us our competitors across the country are still jealous.
They call us all kinds of bad names.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff. Nobody even talks to us.
Right? How do they do it? They still to this day ask, how are they doing it?
How can you sell that Ideal 50 for $6 1/4? It's like, yes, because I sell thousands of them.
Right.
It's our loss leader on which we make, $4 each. It's not really a loss leader, but gives, you know, a lot of people the impression that we have super low prices on all 2,000 items, and
Right.
we don't. We've got
We're very
a lot of low
competitive.
prices,
Yeah.
and you don't have to make $16 each.
Right, and that's where the stamp industry was when the internet started, or right before the internet started. Everything, all stamps were sold at retail with large profits, and like Mike said,
That's why they're mad at us.
why
because
can't we, so they're making less
we ruined
money.
their companies, but not on purpose.
No, we were trying to survive, and with Mike's marketing background, and with the internet starting, and I mean, we just took advantage of it.
Yeah, and we transformed the stamp industry from one that was lots and lots of local mom and pop shops to now it's more or less a handful of internet-based companies.
Yeah.
And there's still local mom and pop shops, but
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we sell more rubber
Well,
stamps online every day than anyone else.
And as you know, I mean, over the years too, I mean, it was a lot of work. It's like, oh, how did they do it? Well, we spent, thousands of hours with, Mike learning, all this new techno stuff and advertising, and then me with websites. I had no idea how to do that. So we just, really dove into it and spent a lot of time getting there. So it wasn't just, we're going to advertise and be number one. But I mean, there was a lot of work involved to get there.
Right. Or like putting up products. It sounds like a snap, but it's not. Well, every product, has a different size and a different shape, and it's very
and then all this meta
specialized
stuff, that I didn't know, years ago, with meta titles and descriptions. So we did it. There was a lot of mistakes under the hood, all the meta stuff that now we're fixing. It's just a lot of hours in getting to where we are.
Yeah, and you mentioned the metadata, keeping up with Google in general, because they change up their algorithm 1,000 times a year, and what was important one day, it might not be as important another day. Like the meta keywords, for example, they haven't been relevant in the past 9 or 10 years at all to Google, but the title tags are still relevant. The description tags to a degree are relevant. To keep up with that can be challenging, of course. So you guys mentioned Office Depot and big box brands. How do you compete with big box brands?
Our prices.
Yeah, turnaround times.
Our turnaround times and prices.
You can literally go to Office Depot and get yourself a self-inker in the Ideal 100 size for $29.95, or you can go online and get it from us for $9.95.
Right.
And instead of waiting 3 weeks and trying to figure it out from a catalog to get the thing, you can have it tomorrow if you order it today, pretty much anywhere in the United States. That, of course, would include overnight shipping, but the point being, if you want to wait a day or two instead of a week or two and get it for $20 a pop less, then that's why you would buy from us instead of Office Depot.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we have large, we have.
And not only that, but I'm sorry, Sri, just with this one other thing too, is the internet gets really vertical. So, go to Office Depot's website and try to buy some rubber stamps to try to even find them.
Custom, yeah.
It's
custom is
impossible.
our thing.
And yet that's all we have. So we're we're experts in rubber stamps and have become the champ. And by, just offering that in more different ways than anyone else. Office Depot doesn't do that with rubber stamps. They've got them buried under a billion other things that are just plain office supplies.
Right.
Right. And they stock a lot of stock items, stock stamps that say paid or received. And so our niche is custom stamps. I mean, we also sell the stock and quite a bit of them, but it's the custom. I mean, we still get reviews. Oh my God, they shipped my order in 1 day, and I got it in 3 days. I'm in New York and we're in San Diego. It's definitely price and turnaround.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, you have 5,000 5-star reviews, which is pretty amazing.
And we just started getting those.
In a short period of time.
Yeah,
I think that's less than a year.
It's just about a year. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
We partnered with Trustpilot.
Yep.
About a year ago, and so I'm sure we would have way more than that if we started before that, but it's good. It's really good.
Wow.
We did it because I wanted stars on my SERPs, I'm
Right.
like, how come these people have stars on their SERPs? And I could never. I finally found the answer, and then we
And then 2
started
years
doing
later, yeah, right.
That works.
So now we got stars on our SERPs, yeah, and a lot of great reviews. People really like us. The thing they say a lot is, you guys are the champs. So it's like this recognition that we promised something by calling ourselves that, and then lived up to it.
That has to be an amazing pat on the back after all these years of doing this, and then just in the last year starting to get these reviews that you really haven't seen before.
Right.
It's all really cool. It's like we never really had a plan, mostly looking forward necessarily to do all that we've done. It's just like we kept climbing, and all of a sudden you go, wow, we really got up there with this,
And you mentioned the 2000 products. Have there ever been any product launches where you're just so excited about them and it just kind of fizzles out?
Yeah. No. On the other hand, one of the really cool home runs that we did hit with a new product add-on, we added redacting stamps and redacting markers, things that you use to black out text that you don't want anybody to read.
Yeah.
When we added those, we came into a marketplace where there was a lot of searches being done for those products, but no central focus for buying them. When we noticed that people were searching for this stuff like crazy, but they didn't really have a place to get it that made any sense, when we started offering it, we became like the only place that made sense. And we're like, if you still look up redacting stamps and redacting markers and things like that, sometimes we're not just on page one, we are page one.
Right.
Number one, number two, number three, number four. Yeah, we really sold so much of that stuff immediately after putting it up, and still do that. People visited us from Japan.
Oh my gosh.
To give us
a vendor
to say thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. So I imagine you're selling a lot to law offices then?
I don't know. We just sell a lot. We just, like
Everyone.
I said, there was a lot of people searching for this stuff and no place to really buy it. And so we sort of funneled that all into us.
Yeah. Wow.
They're made by this company in Japan called Sashi Hara, which also makes hex stamp or rubber stamps.
And they flew in and wanted to take you out to dinner, I imagine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was porcelain kitties and that.
And you mentioned the challenge of the recession and how you were able to add products to get through that. What other challenges have you guys faced as you've grown the company?
You talk about a tree. A lot of them have been related to our website host.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what they're called.
Yeah, the company that created the software that we currently use, they've been in business for 15 years. And it's a couple guys that were in the stamp industry, and one of them is a developer, and they created this software, and then they lease it to hundreds of stamp companies across America. And then we just customize it with our logo and our theme and our products. And so over time, because of the size of company that we are, we've outgrown some of the features, and so we've been, we've been with them since 2008. They also host the site. So
actually,
some of the challenges have been where when we've gotten the report from TDM and need these structure changes, they aren't able to do all of them. So it's been frustrating that way. Did you want to add?
We've looked into on a couple of different occasions,
yes,
because there's new formats out there that were automatically developed in a search engine optimized environment, so they don't have to be fixed.
Different platforms, yeah.
Yeah.
We looked into
looked into putting, having our website on one of those platforms, but
twice
through 2 cycles, it was impossible. We told the developers, would you please look at the site before you say you can do it, because we've got hundreds of thousands of customers with order history and this pretty technical design editor and all this stuff.
Yeah, and what Mike's saying
all-
is that we twice we went to 2 different companies to have them do a new website for us.
You're probably looking at Magento or a Shopify or a BigCommerce.
Yeah.
Something like that.
One was WooCommerce, one was a custom.
Right.
And after several months,
but nobody can duplicate the site in
the
those.
design. Yeah, it was the part where you design stamps, which is, the most important page on our website pretty much is the,
Plus all the customer
customization
history.
page. And like Mike said, the transferring order history from 2008. I mean, when we had our first website in 2002 till 2008, we had, I don't know how many customers, 100,000 or 200,000. Actually, it was 300,000 customers. And then when we went to our site, with our current host, all that customer history was lost. And we ticked a lot of customers off because they would go on their history, reorder without spending the time to customize it. That was almost the most important thing almost was, can we transfer order history? And since the platform that we use now is totally custom, it was impossible.
We spent a year and a half with 2 different pretty high-end developers that had good credentials and stuff, and
Right.
we're not getting to the point where we could ever see them actually delivering us a site that we could use every day, not even remotely. And so we're still using Connect Web. That seems to have improved.
We're their biggest customer.
Yeah. And overcoming this issue of the site being slow, we've overcome that now. It's got really good internet speed, and all the customer history is carried with it. They were thinking they're going to have to layer that, but it got worked out to where every customer still has all their history immediately available, and yet the site is fast as heck. So we're pretty happy with that end of it now, and also happy with everything we did to promote it while it was slow. So that's all kind of kicking in and getting better daily almost.
What advice would you guys give to couples who want to run a business together? I hear the
I have a
sighs.
lot to say.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Sheree.
no, I think one of the things with Mike and I is we really respect each other's talents. And, from the very beginning, I mean, Mike respected me and what I knew, and trust is a huge thing too, And then, I mean, it's always been a challenge for us with kids and the business and our relationship. But for me, I think it's the respect and the trust.
And I think it's good too to have an understanding of a common objective.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Mike is really, really good at doing that. Reminding us, because it can get so crazy and so intense, and it has gotten like that many times. But he always brings us back to what's our objective and stick to that.
If we have an agreed upon objective, then it's easier to judge tactics and or incidents or anything against that. Does it fit with this agreed upon objective or doesn't it? So.
Yeah. And I imagine it's got to be a challenge to talk about things other than the business, right? For your own personal relationship and your own sanity. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, we would talk at, we still do, but it's with, as business owners and entrepreneurs, there's no set time to talk about the business. And still to this day, 17 years later, we love working together. We love the company, and we still are excited about it and want to do more.
That's true. That's absolutely true. And we started knowing we had to survive. We had to make it work. It wasn't, I wonder if this will work. We were just going to. I think that's a good thing. And I think I would tell people also to read Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins, because there's a wealth of information in that book about the whole reason why you want to have a clear objective, and then all kinds of ways in which to achieve it.
Yeah. So what is that clear objective?
Well, like I said, we have to survive without jobs, We don't like jobs. I haven't had, I worked a lot of jobs, so did Sheree, and we both always felt like that was sort of a prison sentence, and what we really wanted to do was make a good living on our own without having jobs. And then I got that started in '91, and Sheree and I kept going with the agency, and then we bought the Stamp Champ, and we were just always doing what we were going to do to survive well enough to keep going.
Yeah, I imagine there's such a freedom in not ever needing a resume or never needing a LinkedIn profile or anything like that.
Or we're like going to lunch. Going to lunch is not, like your only freedom,
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just not everybody thinks that the way we do either,
No, and there's a lot of risk,
That's why we have employees. If all of our employees thought like us, we wouldn't have any.
Right. Our latest goal is, now that we got the site speed, we've totally noticed a difference with the orders, and, we just want to keep it growing.
And we're going to have a more traditional objective, like we wanted. If you look at the wholeness of what gets ordered in rubber stamps each year in the United States, the figure's around $500 million, and we sell 3 million. So you can see that there's almost unlimited growth opportunities, and what we want to do is set an objective for like doubling our sales from 3 million a year to 6 million a year, and then give ourselves a period of time in which to do that, and then just do everything consistent with making it happen.
Right.
Yeah. If you can grow to even just 1%, 1.5% of the market, it's huge.
Right. Well, and then recently, Mike mentioned, we hired for the first time someone kind of at our level. She helps. She does the website. She actually knows the website better than I do, and there was no training involved when we hired her. So that's helped us because all these things that we want to do, it was too much for me. So nothing was getting done, and so now hiring her, it's been one of the best decisions that we've ever made besides buying the company.
And the other thing it does too right away is it enables you to keep thinking of ideas. We got to the point where we're like, we can't even do all these ideas we have anyway, so what's the point of thinking of more? And now we've got a little bit more of a way to get them done, and so we're thinking of new ones all the time. And in our experience, the stuff that Sheree and I think of together, we're not iffy about it. We pretty much know that it's going to help us make more money.
Right.
Because if we're going to say we're going to get to 6 million, then one of the first things we have to figure out better is getting more help under Sheree and I to execute our ideas.
Well, this has been outstanding.
No, thank you, Jason. You were an excellent host. You asked good questions and then let us answer. That was effective.
I tossed up a softball pitch to you, and you guys just hit it out of the park. That was it.
Excellent.
We're used to pitching to ourselves, so.
And I was a softball pitcher.
And I hit some out of the park.
For 4 years.
There you go. Well, I appreciate it, guys.
All right.
This has been outstanding.
Excellent.
Yep.
That's cool. You guys are great. We really like Triangle Direct Media.
Yeah,
everybody that works there, the culture is very super.
Well,
really excellent.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I worked at a company that wasn't great back in 2005. And that's, one of the things I say in the intro podcast is, coming on board here, you could see that this is a company that was sustainable and that we were never going to be the fastest growing company by any means. But it would work for our clients. It would work for everybody, especially our clients. And we show them how to make money.
And a great culture, just lots of professionalism and respect and niceness. I've always enjoyed talking to everybody that we've worked with. So really good.
Well, I really appreciate that. All right, Mike. All right, Sheree.
Okay, man. We appreciate you too, and thanks for inviting us to this, Jason. That was fun.
Thank you. Yes.
So that was Mike and Sheree from RubberStampChamp.com. And it was so great to hear their story. I asked them before we left if they ever think about what would have happened if they decided to buy the fishing boat business instead of the rubber stamp business back in 1999. and they both laughed, saying that probably wouldn't have worked since they didn't know much about fishing. But somehow, after listening to them, I think they would have figured it out. Thanks for listening to My Digital Story from Triangle Direct Media. I'm Jason Gillikin, and we'll see you next time.